Welcome to Boss City. I'm Brian, and I'll be your tour guide as we go down the avenues and turn on the boulevards and venture into the alleys and thoroughfares of classic music and TV. So, today we're very excited because we're going to be looking at one of the best albums of the 1960s, the fourth album from the Monkees, entitled Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited. The made-for-TV band returns with another outstanding album. This is arguably their best album, and in my opinion, one of the best albums of the 1960s. What this album is characterized as a mixed mode album. Monkees, interesting band because they were made up of individuals hired to star in a TV series about a band and ended up becoming a band and ended up recording and releasing some of the most enduring and best music of the 1960s. The first two albums consisted of mainly brill-building pop with some classics by Boyce and Hart, like Last Train to Clarksville, I'm a Believer. And the Monkees, as artists, were limited to, for the most part, vocals only. Third album, they're allowed to go into the studio, select the material, and perform the music themselves, and write a lot of the music, and direct the extra musicians, such as an extra bass player and string sections. Now this album, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited, the Monkees are in charge of playing their parts. However, they're collaborating with more experienced bass player and drummer. So on most of these tracks, it's Eddie Ho on drums and producer Chuck Douglas on bass. But almost all the guitars are handled by Michael Nesmith. All the keyboards are handled by Peter Tork. So let's dive in to Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited. This was released in November of 1967. That was the fall of what is commonly known as the Summer of Love. That July, the Monkees had a number 3 single with Pleasant Valley Sunday, which is on this album. Then in November, this album, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited, is released around the same time as Daydream Believer is released. However, Daydream Believer, which went to number 1, the Jon Stewart classic, with a classic lead vocal by Davy Jones, isn't on this album. And neither is the B-side, Going Down. Lester Sill, who by that point was running the record company, said that he wanted to keep that in his back pocket for the next album. And he did. And we'll talk about that at a future time. So, let's look at the tracks. The first track on Pisces album is Salesman, and that is a good song to start off the album with. It was written by Craig Vincent Smith, who ended up performing in a band that Michael Nesmith ended up producing. But Salesman talks about the perils of and hard life of a door-to-door salesman. At the time, people speculated on whether it was a metaphor for other type of sales, but just on the surface of a salesman, it works really well. The song, like this album, has more of a sheen to it. It still has that energetic, garage band-esque feel to it, but it is much more sheen, finesse, and polish on this album as opposed to Headquarters. But Salesman is a good rocker to start off the album. The second song on this album is Salesman, which is written by Jeff Berry, and he was credited as the writer on the original album and on many of the re-releases. However, on Wikipedia and other sources on the internet, his former wife, Ellie Greenwich, is credited as a co-writer, and in some sources, so was Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller. So I don't know, but the original on Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn Jones Limited was Jeff Berry, who produced most of the tracks on the second album. She Hangs Out is a re-record of a song that was recorded when the Monkees were battling with Don Kirshner, music supervisor and record company president, over what songs they were going to produce to sing and which whether they were going to be allowed to play on these. And so when they're trying to figure it out for the third single, Davy goes into the studio in New York and records several songs. She Hangs Out is one of them. It wasn't released because shortly after, Don Kirshner was fired, and the Monkees then started releasing stuff with them playing on it. So if She Hangs Out, which is a really strong song, is going to come out, it's going to come out in a version played and performed by the Monkees. So it's re-recorded, and it's much better. There's a version of it that's played on the television show, which doesn't have all the instrumentation that's on the record, doesn't have the horns. But this is a good Davy Jones song, him doing what he does best. It's kind of what, it's a pop song, not quite bubblegum, but has those elements with some outstanding keyboard work by Peter Tork. And I've always liked She Hangs Out. Number 3, track 3 on the album is The Door into Summer. And this is a song written by Chip Douglas and Bill Martin. Chip Douglas has said that he actually didn't participate in the writing of it, but ended up with a writing credit. But this song is a song that I was kind of ambivalent about it when I had this album as a child, but I grew to love it, and really started to dig it when it was recorded by one of my favorite bands from the 80s, 90s, Jacob's Trouble, did a cover of it. And then I really started to understand the lyrics and thought it was really good. It's a wistful song about not paying attention to what's important in life. And it's a song whose message is still one that we need to hear today. It's got a great vocal by Michael Nesmith, and harmonies by Micky Dolenz, and some great keyboard work by Peter Tork. So it's definitely a group, like this album has great participation by all the Monkees, but this one is a really outstanding song. And this song represents a shift in the Monkees recordings, because Michael Nesmith sings lead on 5 songs, and if you consider on the first 2 albums he sang a total of 3 lead vocals, it's quite a shift, where Micky only sings lead on 3 songs on this album. So Mike does a great job on this, as he does track 4, which is Love Is Only Sleeping, a classic by Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil. Now this song was considered to be the Monkees' 4th single instead of Daydream Believer. And ultimately things changed and decisions were changed. Something to do, I've heard, with the master not being ready for it, or something, not being fully completed. But this song is a very 1967 song. It has traces of psychedelia, dose of pop, a dose of rock, you know. You could kind of imagine Jefferson Airplane maybe doing a song like this. It's very has a mood to it that's very 1967, and Mike does a great job singing it, and it's just an outstanding track, and I've grown to love it over the years because when I was a kid, it kind of scared me a little bit. Now as I watch back these videos, a lot of these songs when I was a kid scared me, it's kind of funny. But the next song was one that always made me smile. It's Cuddly Toy, written by Harry Nilsson. Now this song was featured in a couple of different music video type performances, but I think both with Davy wearing a top hat and striped coat. And there's one where all the Monkees are dressed similarly, and it's a classic song. I know that there's always been rumors out there about it having a double entendre, but in an interview with Monkees historian Andrew Sandoval, Michael Nesmith stated that he encouraged them to record this song because he thought it was a great song just on face value, and that's how he approached it. And that's how I look at it as well. It's got a great performance by Davy Jones, great piano work by Peter Tork, and it's the only song on the album that has the main instrumentation done by the four Monkees. Micky's on drums, Mike's on guitar, Chip Douglas is on bass, and it's a really fun song. It's really, and a lot of Nilsson songs would fit Davy Jones's, wheelhouse, which is that kind of cabaret, vaudeville, straw hat with the striped coat kind of music that he does so well. But the Monkees do it in a style that makes it still sound current. So Cuddly Toy is a song I enjoy. The next song is the last song on side one, and that is Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart's Words. Now this song was recorded by the Monkees in the sessions for the second album, and it was passed over by Don Kirshner, and this is a re-record. Both versions. Oh, and it was featured in the TV show. And it's an interesting thing about that because the musical performance of this song on the TV show is that Davy's on drums, Micky is singing lead, playing some kind of, looks like a wind chime thing, and Peter's on guitar and Mike's on bass. On the record and on the unreleased version, the vocals feature Micky Dolenz and Peter Tork. So Peter gets his first non-Anti-Griselda opportunity in the original version. It's one of the best songs of Boyce and Hart's catalog, and it's a very good song. Great vocal performance by Micky, and a good job by Peter. Peter does a great job on the keyboards throughout this album, so I'm becoming redundant. The next song is the first song on side two, and this would be Davy Jones's first actual songwriting contribution. He was credited with co-writing some songs on Headquarters, but that was more of, we're going to give everybody in the band a credit. This is him actually contributing. It's hard to believe, and it's written by him and some members of the Sundowners, who were the opening act for the Monkees 67 tour, where they would open the show, and then when the Monkees would do their solo spots, they would back the individual Monkees. So what makes this song interesting is that all the instruments are played by Kim Capley. Cole jams using RCA's recording studios, which had just upgraded to 8-track. And so they took full advantage of the 8-track recording system to allow Capley to play all the instruments. Chip Douglas always preferred the Monkees to be playing on the recordings. This song is done in kind of a bossa nova pop style that Davy does really well on. And there's some interesting chord changes, and I still enjoy this song. It was never one of my favorites, but I do like it. The next song, the second song on side 2, is What Am I Doing Hanging Around? And this is a song with a lead vocal by Michael Nesmith, and it was written by Michael Martin Murphey and Owen Castleman, who at the time were actually, it was credited to their alter egos, Lewis and Clark. They were a Cold Gems act as well. They had both been, I think, in a band a folk band with Nesmith in Texas, I believe, a pre-Monkees endeavor. But they were in this Cold Gems act where they had alter egos, Travis Lewis and I think Boomer Clark or something like that. And they did an album for Cold Gems and some singles, and they did perform on some Screen Gems TV shows. And I think they had one song that might have bubbled under or charted briefly, but none of the songs on their album were as good as What Am I Doing Hanging Around? This features a guitar by legendary country rock banjo player Doug Dillard, who was in the Dillard and Clark Expedition and was in the Dillards, those guys who played the Darlings on the Andy Griffith Show, played and performed bluegrass music, and Dillard teamed with Gene Clark, who had recently left the Byrds, for an album which is one of the forerunners of country rock. He plays on this record. What Am I Doing Hanging Around is definitely a country rock pioneering effort. It features a pop rock beat with a banjo as one of the lead instruments, and Nesmith does a great job. There's great backing vocals by Dolenz and Jones, and it's one of the best songs in the Monkees catalog, and I enjoy it so much more now than I did when I was a kid. The next track is a spoken word rhyme by Peter Tork. He's credited as having written it, but its origin is actually somebody else wrote it, and it's Peter Percival Patterson's Pet Pig Porky. It's a tongue twister, which clearly just the title caused me to trip over myself. Things getting tough here in Boss City. Now on the record, it segues into Pleasant Valley Sunday. Pleasant Valley Sunday is a 60s classic. It's a Jerry Goffin, Carole King song that is rare because it features, it's a single, a hit that features all 4 Monkees playing and singing. There's a lead vocal by Micky harmony vocal by Mike, and backing vocals by Nesmith, Tork, and Jones. And I believe the single version actually has more backing vocals in different spots than the album version. And both of those versions have been made available on different compilations over the years. But this is Jerry Goffin's ode to living in suburbia and commercialism and materialism. And so he wrote a lyric about it. But it's a classic Goffin and King. And it's got a classic guitar intro played by Nesmith, taught to him by Chip Douglas, that is heavily influenced by I Want to Tell You by the Beatles. But it's just a classic song. It reached number 3 on the Billboard charts. And it's one of the best singles of the 60s on one of the best albums in the 60s, in my opinion. If you have a different opinion, let me know in the comments. But before you let me know in the comments, like the video, then let me know in the comments. So the next song is Daily Nightly, which is a song sung by Micky, but written by Nesmith. And this song is a very interesting psychedelic song with very avant-garde poetry put to music. And there's a notable thing about this production is that it's one of the first uses of the Moog synthesizer in pop music. Micky was one of the first owners of a Moog synthesizer. At the Monterey Pop Festival, they had a booth there where they were taking pre-orders on the Moog synthesizer, and Micky was one of the first ones to purchase one. And so he is using it to its full psychedelic capabilities, and it makes for a really intriguing song. And it is featured in the TV show where the Monkees are lip syncing to this, all dressed in white. And that's something you should look up because it's very interesting. So the next song is Don't Call on Me, which is a song written by Nesmith and John London, who coincidentally was in that Lewis and Clark expedition with Michael Martin Murphey and Owen Boomer Castleman. And both of those guys ended up having hits. Michael Martin Murphy, Michael Murphy had a pop hit in the early 70s with Wildfire, and Boomer Castleman had a hit also around that time. And if you can put the name of it in the comments, I'd appreciate it, because I didn't plan on saying it, so I didn't look it up. But I think it's like Judy May or something like that. But it was a one-hit wonder. But that's interesting that they both had hits. Now, of course, Michael Martin Murphey went on to have several country hits in the 80s, and mainly in the 80s with What's Forever For and Long Line of Love. So he was prolific. I know at some point he did record his own version of What Am I Doing Hanging Around. So Don't Call on Me is Michael Nesmith kind of as a crooner. This is a song, moody song, 60s song. Really sounds like something that you might expect the Classics 4 to do. And I really like this. And it's so not Nesmith. And that's one of the appealing things about it. So Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn and Jones Limited winds up its parade of great songs with another Goffin King song, Star Collector. And this has a surprisingly rocking vocal by Davy Jones, and some great keyboard by Peter Tork, but more Moog synthesizing done by Paul Beaver, who was playing this more as an instrument and was more experienced with it. And he came and really added some interesting textures to Star Collector, Goffin and King's lament over groupies. And all that stuff went over my head when I was a kid, because I got these albums when I was a kid. But it's part of the album and it's a great production. There's great backing vocals by Micky, and it's a great way to close out this album. Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn Jones Limited is the only Monkees album that has not been afforded a 3 or 4 album super deluxe version by Rhino, and who owns the Monkees catalog. And so Monkee fans are waiting for that. And that would be something I'd like to listen to as well. So that wraps up my spotlight on Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn Jones Limited. This album sold, certified double platinum. And so it was one of the top sellers of the 60s. And of course, back then, the Monkees were not getting any good reviews, so it wasn't revered then. But if you look at the stuff being released at the time, sure, you had classics by the Beatles, Rolling Stones, the top tier groups, but as far as a pop album, this is, in my opinion, ranks up there with those. And it's something that I think is the pinnacle of their career. But you let me know what you think. Now, I would love for you to like the video. Just click on it. And subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. And but I've got to go, because I love to stay, but I should be on that train to San Antone. So until next time, this is Boss City Brian saying thank you for visiting, thank you for watching, many blessings, take care, and I'll see you next time.